Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews. Today we are discussing Season 1 of House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is the prequel spin-off show to the much maligned Game of Thrones that ended several years ago, telling the story of the Targaryen Civil War many hundred years prior to the original series, in a valiant attempt of fixing what was stupidly broken by two idiots who'd rather make a Star Wars movie. But before we go any further, please do remember to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really does make all the difference to this channel, and we thank you if you do. Now, personally, I was not that excited to go and watch this show. Game of Thrones didn't just invade my life, it took over my life, and it deeply hurt and broke me a little bit when it all fell apart at the end due to two idiots not caring, basically. And over the years, I have slowly stitched that wound together, closed it off, and blocked it with a boulder in front of the door, and we're never going to talk about it ever again. So when I heard that this show was coming out, I was worried. It felt like damage limitation to me. But I asked you, I said, do you want me to review it? And you all said yes. So here we are. And I'm glad that you did, because thankfully, House of the Dragon does have its heart in the right place. This offered me everything that I love about Game of Thrones again. I thought the dialogue from start to finish was absolutely outstanding. I really enjoyed the characters and seeing this world again and seeing more depth and history to it. Paddy Considine as King Viserys was absolutely outstanding. It's really insane to think that Eyeball Paul and Otto Hightower are the same person.
Order of His Grace King Viserys.
Where is the king? I don't see him.
His Grace would never lower himself to entertain such a mummer's farce.
You'll see I've just had a banging shit in the bog. Won't flush.
Episode 8 was a personal standout to me. That wasn't just one of the best episodes of House of the Dragon. I think it's one of the best episodes in Game of Thrones entirely. Because it had the depth, it had the character, it had the writing, it had the evolution, it had the underhand secrets and snidiness. It was Game of Thrones again. And with having that many characters, I thought they did a very good job of establishing all of them. By the end of the series, yeah, I feel like I know at least 90% of people's names and can put a face to those names, understand where they are in this family tree, what their position is in this civil war that's coming. I also thought that the dragons were fantastic, especially the likes of Syraxes and Vhagar. Yes, I'm putting on my Game of Thrones nerd hat now. They look exactly how they are described, and this show did a great job of representing that. I didn't need the show to tell me that's Vhagar. I just had to look at him and go, yep, that's Vhagar. But despite all that praise I have and the sheer joy of feeling my love of Game of Thrones rushing back through my veins, I do have some problems with the show. Of course I do. It's me. This con is a bit of a mixed one because I already mentioned how I thought some of the casting was outstanding with the likes of Rhys, Ifans and Paddy Considine. But I also thought they got some of the casting deadly wrong. King Aegon, and not to be confused because there are two Aegons, Aegon the Elder, Aegon Hightower. Yeah, he felt like he was 3 or 4 different characters this season, and it's because he had like 3 or 4 different actors playing him throughout. And all 3 felt like completely different variations of each other. I don't think the casting of Rhaenyra totally worked. I liked older Rhaenyra, I didn't love younger Rhaenyra, and you've got that going on. Meanwhile, Kristen Cole hasn't aged a day. It feels all very contradictory to itself, and it actually becomes quite hard to know what the time frame is. And this one's going to really upset people, I know it is, but I was never ever sold on Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen. I never was when I heard he was cast as Daemon Targaryen. I thought that was weird casting from the get-go. And as I've watched the show, I still feel the same, sadly. I don't believe him as Daemon Targaryen. And maybe this is a personal thing because I, for one, don't rate Matt Smith as an actor. I'm yet to see him have any variation in a performance. It's the same performance, just reading different lines. Every time I watch Matt Smith, I never fall in and think I am watching a character. I sit there and think I'm watching Matt Smith. And yes, this is Game of Thrones. People are not going to be the most likeable people on the planet. People are complicated. That's what I like about Game of Thrones. But did I have a standout character that I was truly behind and actually supported and wanted to cheer on? Not really. No, they're all awful. I liked Paddy Considine's character, but I think we all knew he was doomed from the get-go. And I quite liked Harwin Strong, but he was in it for about 2.5 episodes. So again, not much to attach to there. The time jumps were also quite messy and not always necessary. I think there are 4 time jumps in one season. You don't need that many time jumps. Why didn't they just have one time jump in the middle of the series? First 5 episodes setting up the youth of it and the early days of this incoming civil war. Have the time jump and then have the calm before the storm as the civil war begins. They also definitely had some weaker moments in the writing that sadly did remind me of those bad seasons of Game of Thrones. The whole thing with Larys Clubfoot and the foot fetish was just completely unneeded. Princess Rhaenys crashing the party on her dragon only to then not kill all of them. That feels dumb, really dumb. She could have ended an entire civil war right there, but she just chose not to, I guess. And you're expecting the audience to still like this character, even though we can now all point our finger at her and say, I blame you entirely. You should have killed them when you had the chance. They're also still terrible at filming in the dark like they were in Game of Thrones. I don't know why, but they seem to think it's a good idea to shoot nighttime scenes in the daytime and then just filter and render the image so it looks like nighttime, but actually it looks like shit. And for all the money that you have and being HBO, just be better at filming at night. Find a better way to do it, because this isn't good. And it wasn't good when you did it in Game of Thrones, and it's still not good now. And I'll save the smallest of my complaints till last, and that is, I wish this show had its own music. It has its own title intro cards. I don't know why they're just rehashing the old music of Game of Thrones. Why couldn't they have made something new that's resemblant of that old theme, but is fitting to this now? Have some small level of originality there. But that being said, I actually did like those title cards. I thought there was a nice double meaning there, that the blood was travelling between each family tree that will be involved in this war. But I also saw it as quite literally the blood being poured back into this giant franchise that has been left to rot away for years. And despite all of my complaints, I need to finish on a positive note, because ultimately this is a positive experience for me as a viewer and a fan of Game of Thrones. This show did a fantastic job of restoring that order in some small sense. No, the restless tide isn't completely quelled, but there is some hope, and that's no small feat. So I'm going to give House of the Dragon a 9 out of 10. If you, like me, were cautious, I assure you, check it out. It's not perfect, it does have some problems, but they are problems that you can live with. Not like the problems Season 8 of Game of Thrones gives you, where you are going to lose sleep over it and cannot understand why this perfect show is just falling apart now. No, this gives you what you want and what you loved about Game of Thrones, and it does it in a slightly new fashion with new characters and a new story to tell. And I, for one, really enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section as well. Have you seen House of the Dragon? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.